Hello, hello. Welcome everybody here to a new show. And I'll tell you, this show is ass, baby, because it's the Adam and Steve show. I am Adam.
And I'm Steve.
And we are here to talk about movies from the month. It is when we are recording this, May 31st, correct?
It is.
Awesome. Well, actually, and
We're
by the
yeah,
time
we're
we're done with this, it's going to be June 1st for me. And
yep.
you're in a different time zone.
No, I'm not.
Are
We're
you
in the same,
not?
so I'm just above you, yeah. I'm in Michigan, so I'm just above you.
Are
We're
you
in the
not in
same
Central
time
Time
zone.
Zone?
I'm still in Eastern just with you.
Oh wow, yeah, because I did this with Noah once, and we had completely different times. But yes,
You know?
perfect. So I am Adam from Hard Reviews on my YouTube channel that you guys are going to see from the link below. Steve.
And I am Steve from the Film Fan Reviews.
Oh yes, we went to Full Sail together, and now we live. He lives in the north, I live in the south, and
Yep.
here we go. So let's talk about some movie news that happened this month. So this week, Top Gun made about $160 million at the box office. Can you name the other four movies that are in the top five at the domestic box office this year? This could be movies that came out this year or last year and then carried over, but money, how much money they made at the domestic box office this year.
I'm confused by the question. Okay, say that again.
So they don't have to be released in 2022. It could be a
Okay.
movie that was released in 2021. It just had to make that money during the year 2022. So from January 1st to now, the top five movies that have made the most money in the United States domestically.
This year.
Yes.
Um
Top Gun at
Doc,
160 is at number five.
Doctor Strange, probably, I'm guessing.
That is number one. Yes.
Uh what else big has really came out this year?
One
Scream?
Scream. Scream is not in the top 10. I think it was number 11, actually.
Well, they had to have been close.
One's a comic book movie.
Is it
One
Jackass? The Jackass? Jackass
Jackass
4?
is in the top 15, I think, as well, but no, it's not in the top five. One's a
Oh, is it the
video game
Batman?
movie. The
Is it the
Batman
Batman?
is number, I think that's number three, actually, because no, I think it's two because Doctor Strange just passed it.
Oh, is it
And
Sonic the Hedgehog 2?
that's at the number four. And the last one is a movie that came out last year.
Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's still playing in theaters, I think right around me somewhere.
And yeah, Sing 2 is also in the top 10. It's at like number 8, but like it's made like $86 million just this
Yeah.
year, which it came out at Christmas, which fine, but still,
Yeah.
dang.
I took my niece to go see it, and honestly, like, I was shocked because I did not really like the first one, if I'm being honest, but the second one I really enjoyed.
I'm not too big of a fan of either. They're both fine. They're jukebox musicals, and I like animated movies, but I don't like
Yeah,
Illumination.
I get that. I'm hit and miss on them, honestly, and I think it was just more because I took my niece and seeing it through her eyes. I think I enjoyed it just a little bit more, but yeah, it's pretty much just pop music with animals, so.
And you know that is the only animated movie to be released. Since then, we've only had The Bad Guys, and yeah, because Turning Red went to Disney Plus. Isn't that sad?
You know what's even more sad is I still haven't watched it yet either.
Wow. Yeah. No, The
Yeah.
Bad Guys, that was in April release, so that is not one from this month. But I liked it a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. It's definitely harkens to an Ocean's 11. They specifically name drop Clooney at one point because Sam Rockwell's character is just doing George Clooney.
Very much so. And I love Sam Rockwell, so that was an added bonus for me too. And that whole cast, honestly, was just a lot of fun. So it was a good animated movie to come out early this year.
And it's doing well. It's in the top 10. I think it is number 10. Like it's just barely in the top 10 of this year. But what are your takeaways from that top five? Five was Top Gun. Four was Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Three was Spider-Man 2, Batman, and number one, Doctor Strange.
Well, I still haven't seen Sonic 2 yet either, so I can't speak on that. But I know we're going to have some discourse on this, but I am a huge fan of Top Gun Maverick. Like, I absolutely loved it. So I'm thrilled that it's up in there. Spider-Man, I'm not shocked it's still hanging on, honestly, just because even though it's out on Blu-ray and everything, I'm not surprised that people want to still go see it in theaters. And Batman, not shocking at all. Doctor
Mhm.
Strange, yeah, I personally love that one too, just because I'm a huge Sam Raimi guy. So I'm not shocked that any of those are really up there whatsoever.
I am shocked that Batman got beat out by Doctor Strange because I know we have the Marvel banner, but still, Batman is the tentpole superhero character in history, right?
Yeah, and I think there might have been some word of mouth of maybe like no spoilers. I don't want to go into spoilers for Doctor Strange, but there might have been
Mhm.
word of mouth to kind of bring more people into that movie with all the different things they did. So
Mhm.
maybe that's the only thing. Because yeah, I honestly went and saw both Doctor Strange and Batman twice in theaters, so I can get why they both make the money they did. But it is surprising to see Doctor Strange go that high, but it's mainly because of that Marvel
Mhm.
logo on it that everyone loves so much. I gotta imagine that's the reason.
I actually also caught both of them twice. Doctor Strange recently, like a couple days ago, because Lauren hadn't seen it yet. But Batman, I saw twice before it even came out because I got to go to a press screening, and then there was a fan event in like the Point Orlando. Did you ever, when you lived down here, did you ever go to the Point Orlando IMAX theater?
I don't think so.
The Regal, because you were a Regal guy.
You know, I might have went a couple times. 'Cause I think I went to some like one of those some of those early screenings that I got to go to. I think I went to like the Good Boys at one of those Regals. I got to go see that like a month early. I want to say I went and saw The Incredibles 2 there once too, maybe, but
I love good.
that's
Bye
about it.
dogs. Bye dogs.
Yeah.
I was actually just coding that the other day. But no, I will say though, quite the win for Doctor Strange, especially going forward, as I know Kevin Feige has touted Benedict Cumberbatch as the anchor of the MCU at this point.
Yeah, Kevin Feige is he seems to be juggling a lot and still handling it all really well because I think he's even starting to get into that Star Wars stuff too. So it's gonna be interesting to see how everything still continues, especially as they continue to branch out on Disney Plus and everything. And the
Mhm.
more they do, honestly, I think everything like I know we have our differing opinions on the Disney Plus stuff too, but I think
Mhm.
everything is pretty much the same quality as the movies, which is kind of surprising to me. But at the same time, they're putting in all that money to Disney Plus too, so it's also not that shocking that it still looks cinematic and everything. But
Mhm.
I think it's gonna be interesting to see how he kind of handles all of those worlds together and how they're gonna blend, especially with all these new characters brought in from Fox too, which is added bonus.
Mhm. You know, I've warmed up to Disney Plus when Doctor Strange was coming out a month before I started. I finished WandaVision, and then I watched all of What If, and then I got to catch Loki, which actually I was kind of disappointed by Loki because I'm a big fan of what they did with his character in Thor: The Dark World. I thought everything with him in that movie is perfect, but here everything was so lofty and so heavy-handed. Excuse me, sorry. And I just I had a hard time getting into a show with him as the main character. I like the zaniness of it, but it's in my bottom seven. I think it's the seventh lowest Marvel thing, which is fine because even the worst Marvel thing. Well, I think I do have two negatively rated Marvel things, but still at the seven, I gave it 3 stars. I enjoyed it. It was fine. There was an alligator, or a crocodile. Was it a crocodile?
I can't remember which, but yeah, I had
Uh,
fun with that one. Like WandaVision is still my favorite of those shows, honestly, just because of how weird it was. But yeah, I can kind of see that. Same thing with like Falcon and Winter Soldier. I liked it a lot, but it just moved kind of slow for me at times. But
mhm,
I didn't dislike anything about it. And yeah, all of the Marvel stuff, there's not much that I really don't like. Like you just brought up Thor: The Dark World. That's probably the only movie that I honestly don't ever go back and rewatch very often, just because even in theaters, like just didn't care for it that much. I like a lot of the dark mythology, like the dark elf stuff in mythology, and I just didn't really like it in the movie. So it was just a personal thing more than anything. But yeah, I don't think Marvel really has any bad things to put out there.
I still haven't caught the Captain Falcon, the Winter Soldier. I haven't caught Hawkeye, but surprisingly enough, I was a big What If guy. I thought it was a lot of fun, really funny, especially the Black Panther Star-Lord episode, and the Doctor Strange had a heart episode. I thought it really hit home, and it was felt different and fresh while still entirely being surrounded by all the old things that we are accustomed to. So I guess I am the nostalgia boy here, but no, Moon Knight's very good as well, I would say.
Yeah, honestly, I actually brought it up in I can't remember, it must have been Doctor Strange or something, but a lot of the shows kind of have, and the movies, they all have a kind of, since Infinity War and all that, and since Endgame, have like, they're dealing with death and kind of like the aftermath and dealing with loss. And it seems like all the characters have their own trauma and everything. And it seems like that's what I've said, I think, is that Marvel's in its trauma era right now. Because it seems like all of their characters, like whether it's Moon Knight dealing with childhood trauma and all the different stuff with Wanda and Doctor Strange and everything, like it's pretty interesting to think about on that level, honestly. But I don't know if everybody else is doing that.
So let's transition into Doctor Strange then. How did you feel about the Multiverse of Madness?
So like I said, I'm a huge Sam Raimi guy, so a lot of his touches were in there, whether it's like the quick zooms and the horrific imagery. Like I wouldn't say was like a scary movie by any means, but it definitely got darker in a few spots that I wasn't expecting Marvel to really go in that direction. But I had a ton of fun watching it. IMAX added the whole big scale to it, and I saw it in IMAX, so that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't think it was like my favorite Marvel movie by any means, but I was really happy to see Sam Raimi get to play around and make his own movie inside of the MCU.
I will say yes. The fact that it's a Sam Raimi movie is my favorite part about it, even though it's, to me, my least favorite Sam Raimi movie that I've seen. I had to watch Drag Me to Hell for the first time, which I was a big fan of. I think
love that
Dark
movie.
Man's better than this. All the Evil Dead movies and Army of Darkness, obviously. I'm even a big fan of Oz the Great and Powerful. Do you remember that he directed that back in 2013?
I know he directed it. I don't even know if I actually finished it, honestly. Like I rented it and I just didn't really like it that much. So I don't know what it was about it. I want to rewatch it just to see, but at the time I just didn't really like it. So I get that, but
Well, that's the last thing that he did. But
yeah,
I will say that the stuff that's clearly him in this movie, I really love. It's my favorite stuff about this movie. That being said, it's still a mop-up job. Like this isn't his baby, his passion project. This is a movie that Scott Derrickson was making, and then there was creative differences with the studio, which usually means the director wanted to do something cool and artistic, and the studio was like, "No, make money and do this thing you don't want to do."
and he probably didn't want to do the whole scene that we're not going to talk about too much, is what I'm guessing probably happened too.
Well, I think it's fine to talk about the Illuminati because it's on the poster, right?
I think I don't really pay attention. Like the trailers and everything, like that was still a surprise to me because I didn't watch the trailers, so I didn't know about the Illuminati even showing up or even anything about who showed up.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I knew the main guy, I knew him showing up, obviously, but there is definitely some cameos that I'm actually kind of surprised that they got away with. I will say that was a scene that I really enjoyed. I thought the fan service was done really well, especially with how they conclude that segment of the movie. But I do feel like that is definitely the point where it was a departure for me, and I feel like
It
that's what
felt like
Scott
a
Derrickson
short
didn't want to do.
it felt like a short film inside of the movie. Like it didn't feel like it was necessary to the story whatsoever. It was just like we can throw this in here and make it into a story, but we could also write around it and save ourselves some time, but whatever.
Well, when it comes to Multiverse of Madness, and we really go to we spend time in one
Yeah,
place.
we do a huge montage through a couple worlds, but yeah, we go to like two different worlds really for the most part, and we don't really spend a whole lot of time in the other worlds. So
And the craziest difference is that red means go. Like, no, it's funny, it's cute, it's a good little movie. I
well,
enjoy
you
it.
can't forget about Papa's Pizza Balls or whatever the hell. You gotta
Love
love
that.
Bruce Campbell.
Which, by the way, I will say this is one of my favorite after credit scenes, up there with the Spider-Man Homecoming Captain America PSA
Yes,
video.
specifically because just like that one, I heard people in the crowd like audibly like not knowing who Sam Raimi and who Bruce Campbell are. I'm guessing we're just like, what the fuck?
Like, oh,
So that was
I
fun
waited for
too.
that. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is what we're waiting for. It's like, shut up. You don't even know what's going on. Obviously, you're
well,
not in on the joke.
well, it's so much better than the mid-credit scene where it's just like, hey, look at famous actor with makeup on, and they're gonna go do a thing, I guess.
She's a character, but you don't know about it because you're not really a big fan of Marvel Comics. So, fair enough.
No, I'm at the
That's how I
point
felt.
now where I
I don't really
don't
know.
know any of the characters they're referencing anymore. Like the characters we're alluding to. Like when Guardians 2, when Adam shows up, I'm like, that's my name and I don't even know.
Yeah. A lot of it is just me going to my brother, or and if he doesn't know, I go to Wikipedia because I've read some comics, but I'm definitely not a savant by any means. I like X-Men, Spider-Man, and that's pretty much the only ones I've actually like read for the most part. A lot of other heroes I've dabbled in, but those are my two like main ones that I actually read for the most part.
Mm-hmm. So what's your rating for Doctor Strange?
I think I don't know what I rated it in my video, but I think at this point I would still rate it a 4 out of 5 just because I
Mm.
really, really enjoyed it, but
Do you
it's
have an
definitely
MCU
not.
ranking list?
I don't know if I have one officially on my letterbox, but I should do that.
Yeah, I have one with all the shows as well. I had a 3-star for Doctor Strange the first time I watched it, and then I rewatched it recently and I went up to a 4 because I do really enjoy it. I will say, crowning achievement of this movie, while there are people who complain that Wanda does a complete 360 or 180 from WandaVision to here, but she's my favorite MCU villain outside of like what Thanos, Loki,
Yeah,
Black
'cause
Panther.
she actually has depth and everything, and there's like meaning behind her motivation rather than just like I want to watch the world burn.
She has personality. We get to spend time with
Yeah,
her. There's a personal connection between her and the hero of the movie. Like they don't want to fight each other. It kind of feels like Civil War a little bit.
yeah, and the audience doesn't really want her to be defeated either because we still know her and have grown to love the character of Wanda rather than just some random person that we got to know 20 minutes ago and he's just been an asshole the whole time, you know?
I do like that he's constantly annoyed. I went back and rewatched the first one after watching Multiverse of Madness for the first time, and I even bumped that up from a 3 to a 4. And I don't like the cringe humor of like, oh, you have never heard of Beyonce? And then he's listening to Beyonce later. Like, whatever. I like the seriousness of the character, and I like the ending of that movie. I really like that origin. I really like how they build him up. I love how he's used in Infinity War. Um, but I don't really know where they're going with him now at this point. And that's kind of fine. I was asking Lauren, I was like, what future is brightest right now? Obviously, we're all really excited to see Spider-Man going forward because the ending of No Way Home really left us in a really good place for the character because a lot of people were complaining that it's just Iron Man light. And now it's a whole new thing, right?
Well, now it's Spider-Man basically starting over from scratch practically. He has nobody. He's just the kid in New York that's trying to make things happen while also trying to be a hero. So
I
that's
don't want a
interesting.
home
But
in the title. I don't.
same thing with Doctor Strange in a way, I mean, too, because obviously he doesn't have his love interest anymore. Right at the beginning of the movie, Christine's getting married, so he's kind of just trying to figure out where he goes from here and what life has in store for Doctor Strange, honestly, because he was honestly the reason why stuff kind of happened in a way with the whole multiverse and Infinity War Endgame stuff. So it'll be interesting to see where that dynamic goes, honestly, for me anyway, because like you were saying, I like the sarcastic humor of the character and kind of how he doesn't really want to be a hero. He was kind of thrusted into it from him being selfish and wanting the use of his hands back and everything. So it's kind of interesting to see how this character has to basically be a hero, even though he doesn't really want to be.
Um, First thing, I don't want to see Christine ever again. I didn't like her in the first one. She's fine here,
Okay,
but I feel like they
we're way far
ended.
apart on that.
They ended it right. He expressed how he feels
I get
about
it.
her, and he came to peace with that situation. And if anything, the mid-credit scene signifies that he really is done because I know that character is a romantic interest in the comics, I believe.
Yeah, I just love Rachel McAdams.
Fair. I do think she was done better. Well, ever since the What If episode, I became immediately interested in that character because she went from just a love interest to a multi-dimensional, super important thing for this character. The second thing I wanted to bring up was son of a bitch. I was surprised by how much this movie has nothing to do with No Way Home.
Yeah, that is true, actually. Maybe that's Sam Raimi too. Maybe he just didn't want to do Spider-Man.
Well, he
He's
saw in
like,
an interview,
don't write
he's like,
Spider-Man.
no, it's one of my favorite MCU movies, No Way Home.
I don't know then. Yeah, because he was involved so heavily in that movie, it is surprising that he doesn't really talk about it. Like, I think he like basically mentions it in passing for the most part. I think to America or whatever, like he talks about Spider-Man for like a second, and that's about it. Oh yeah, because they make the whole webs out of his butt or whatever. So.
Oh yeah. Well, Miss MacGuffin. Honestly, I don't care for her character too much. She does a lot of the relatable humor that I think is frustrating. I didn't mind her as much the second time, but it really is just like, oh, this she's the MacGuffin. They need everyone wants the thing.
It's
I mean, now the
it's
thing is a
also
person.
the relatable character for people and everything like that, I think. But I get it, yeah.
I know I
It's
just
kind of
watched Thor: The
exactly
Dark
that.
World, but it's just like Jane Foster because there's a power inside of her, and the bad guys want her, and the good guys are trying to take her away. You save her.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really the only MCU movie that I'm just not a fan of.
No,
Thor the
I
Dark
and I
World. I'm like,
rewatched it, and I really don't. I think the rest of it is mid, especially when we go back to Earth. I'm like, so frustrated. But every scene with Loki is perfect. I was so excited to see where they were going to go with his character going into Ragnarok, and I think what they do with his character in Ragnarok is really funny, but it doesn't have the weight that the sacrifice in Thor: The Dark World had.
yeah. I
But
will
so
give
do
you
you
a little
put?
hint
Sorry.
at my ranking list.
Mhm.
Thor Ragnarok, where Thor the Dark World's at the bottom, Thor Ragnarok is at the very top, just because
Mhm.
you probably know that I'm a Taika Waititi guy, and that humor just, although it is a little bit over the top sometimes because it is still a Marvel story, I think it's just wonderful. And I can't
Mhm.
wait for Love and Thunder.
I rewatched the Ragnarok recently, and I definitely lightened up to it a lot. I obviously it's very funny. I never thought it wasn't funny, and it's really cool. And a lot of the cool fights. I love the big stupid wolf. Obviously, in hindsight, now it's not as egregious that Hulk was in the trailer because they build it up in the movie. Like, oh, who's he gonna fight? Who's the guy in the arena, the big champion? And it's like, it's Hulk. But so showing
Yeah,
that in the trailer is very much so like you need to see this. See, it's connected to other Marvel movies. But if you would have gotten that in the movie, that would have been an awesome reveal.
yeah, and I think they wanted to do it just because they also have always wanted to make the solo Hulk movie and like a Planet Hulk. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
huge thing in the comics and everything, and they made an animated movie about it, but
Mm-hmm.
they can't do it because of the rights with Universal or whatever are still all screwed up with the solo Incredible Hulk movies. So I think that's kind of why they got so excited about that. But yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
Marvel does that a lot, especially under Disney, where it's just like we're gonna show you all of our cool shit right away because we want you in the theater immediately, even though I think it's kind of proven at this point that you could literally just like show a logo on the screen and people will buy the tickets. So
Oh, Marvel
that's why
sells.
I stopped watching trailers almost for every movie just because I hate how people edit trailers these days. Because they show so much and all of their money shots are ruined. Especially the one thing, my pet peeve especially, if you show the ending of your movie in the trailer, you can fuck off. It just makes
Amazing
me
Spider-Man
so,
2.
yeah, and that's probably one of my least favorite movies of all time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not like worst made, just like biggest letdown for sure.
Oh, people today, they love Amazing Spider-Man 2. They always love the Andrew Garfield movies.
I like the first one a lot, but that second one,
Mm-hmm. So do you put Doctor Strange over the original one? Which one's better? The first Doctor Strange or Multiverse of Madness?
honestly, damn. I think I like Multiverse of Madness just a little bit more, but
Mm-hmm.
they're like head to head just because I love Scott Derrickson's style and everything he did too, especially with all the different. He got to play a lot more with like the surreal visuals of how he made like the worlds, like kind of like Inception in a way with all the like the worlds, yeah, twisting all around and shit. I liked all of that where Sam Raimi's was more horrific. I think both movies kind of complement each other in that way. where they're kind of two different styles, but at the same time the same in a way. I don't know if that makes sense, but
I'll definitely be interested to see if I like Black Phone more than this. Is that one you're excited for?
I'm very excited. And you know what was even stranger? I was watching the trailer came up on YouTube and I was watching shit with my mom and she said she wanted to see it. And I was shocked by that, but I was like, awesome. We will go see that together then.
It's Ethan Hawke.
It's Ethan Hawke and it's just, yeah. I think it's the horror part of it too.
Okay, so final thoughts on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, I think it's a really fun time at the theater. If you haven't gone to see it already, I would check it out in the theater just to see all of Sam Raimi's crazy visuals and everything. And if you're a fan of the horror stuff, I think there's enough in there for you to check it out and have a good time with it. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for me for sure.
Where's it rank in Phase 4 for you? With 2 Spider-Man movies, Shang-Chi, Black Widow, Eternals.
Honestly, I think Shang-Chi is still at my top for sure. And then Spider-Man's right underneath it, to be honest.
Which one? Far From Home or No Way Home?
No Way Home.
Is Far From Home in Phase 4?
I don't know.
I think so. I
want to say it's the first movie of Phase 4, but I'm not 100% sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, so when I first watched Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, I was upset that they kind of pushed Doctor Strange to the side. It felt more like Scarlet Witch in the Multiverse of Madness, which was a good thing because Marvel's not very good at villains. So I really enjoyed having a villain that I actually cared about. I will say that while I feel like they pushed him aside, here in the second viewing, I definitely saw a lot more of his arc, where the first time I was just like, are you happy? Are you actually happy though? This time I was like, oh, the whole point of the movie is him letting up control, him not holding the knife, and basically his arc is to be the side character. And I really appreciated that for him, and especially seeing where that takes him going forward. But yes, so absolutely. That was obviously the biggest movie of the month because it's the biggest movie of the year. I'm going to throw it to you. What other May release do you want to talk about?
I think we're going to have to talk about Top Gun Maverick because I absolutely loved it so much. I'm not the biggest fan of the original. Like, I like it. I think it's cool. It's very dated, and a lot of the humor that they went for, especially a lot of the more kind of like manly man stuff, it's very aggressive in that movie for sure, but it's a very fun movie, and I think it's like it's really a classic blockbuster in my opinion. And this one had some big shoes to fill for a lot of people, and I think it really does it. And honestly, I enjoy Top Gun Maverick way more than the original. I think everything is done a lot better where it comes to even the music and everything. I think was done really well. The editing especially. Like, I got goosebumps during a lot of the flying scenes in the first one, but this one, I don't know if it was the IMAX added into it, but the music cues, all the different shots, they really put you inside of all of the different planes and all of the different emotional times that they have, whether it's with Miles Teller and Tom Cruise. And honestly, I just had such a fun time watching it. It was a really fun time at the theater that I had with my brother, and I don't know if that added more to it, that we both are fans of Top Gun and everything, and maybe that was a little added to it, but I just had a blast with it. And it was like up there with my experience with Mission Impossible Fallout, because that is still like a top 5 like favorite action movie of all time. And just a theater experience too was just a blast. So yeah, I think it's a really fun time, and I know you're gonna think differently.
It's a 5 out of 5 for you, right?
It is a 5 out of 5 for me. It's one of my favorite movies of the year right now.
Do you know what the Rotten Tomatoes score is right now?
Is it like a 90 something? Is it 92 or something?
97.
97. Yeah, that's I get it, but I don't know if it won't hold on to that, I don't think.
From critics and audience is 99. Can you guess what the original Top Gun has from critics on Rotten Tomatoes?
78.
53 or 56. It's rotten.
Ooh.
Bad movie, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad movie. I think I think a lot of it is old for sure. Like if you rated it on today's scale, but back then especially, I think it was pretty well made for the time, especially.
Well, audiences have
Especially,
it at like an 86, so it's definitely obviously it's a a classic nostalgic movie. I mean, we're making
yes.
Maverick, so obviously I rewatched this movie. It was only my second viewing ever
Yeah.
of Top Gun before seeing Top Gun Maverick, and I kind of fell in love with it. I love how cheesy it is. I love you talked about the music. 95% of that comes from this. And I know Lady Gaga's not here, okay, but we got some bangers. And the only Oscar this movie won was Best Original Song.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know which
And
one?
that song is is it Danger Zone or is it the is it the I can't remember what it's called.
Take My Breath Away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which actually, that's one of the things I want to touch on. So, well, I'll just dive right into it. I think it's a really good movie. There's no denying that. I respect it in that regard. It's really well made, especially technically. It's a Jerry Bruckheimer production. And even when he's making movies about kangaroos and red jackets, it still has awesome practical effects.
Hey, you know my feelings on Kangaroo Jack. I love that movie. I actually bought it. I bought it at a resale shop. It might have even been a Goodwill, like sometime last year on DVD because I only ever had the VHS. So
I have it in like the weirdest 4-movie collection, Warner Brothers.
That is a weird ass collection.
I have it for this and for this.
Well, see, I had Racing Stripes on DVD too. I got it for my birthday as a child, and I never watched it but like once.
Well, so I think this is a lot like The Force Awakens or Jurassic World. It's just let's take this old thing that people like and we'll bring it back. And our old heroes, they'll be like old now, but they'll be like teachers or mentors. And we'll have the new young cast coming in and they're kind of like the old one. And we're going to do the same thing again, Top Gun again. And we're not really going to do anything different. We're going to make a very safe, nerfy requel of the franchise. And I think from a technical aspect, it's fantastic. The action scenes, I'm going to without trying to spoil anything, this movement, I watched it in Dolby, stellar. Dude, I just
IMAX,
think
it was so good. All those visuals, but I do agree with a lot of what you said, but I do think I want to pull back just a little bit because the dynamic between Miles Teller and Tom Cruise with that little being, it's not really a spoiler, I don't think. It's pretty much in the trailers and everything. Miles Teller is Goose's son who passes away in the original Top Gun, and it's not really blamed on Maverick, even though we won't go into that too much, but some people do blame Maverick, and I liked that dynamic a lot. Like, yes, a lot of it does feel like the original movie, and John Hamm's fantastic, but they all play pretty much the same stereotypical Navy guys that don't like Maverick being Maverick. So yeah, I get all that. It's all pretty much repeat of the first one, but I think they added in with Miles Teller and the rest of this new crew. I think like even if they made a Top Gun and just like Maverick's just not there anymore and all this new recruits, that's a movie, I'd be down for that immediately. Just because I liked all those characters they introduced too.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't mind a Top Gun movie that's just completely different or just a different story.
Just like Top Gun flight class of all these different, like all these new recruits or whatever, or even a different, even if they took it to a different country or something, I think it'd be interesting.
And while I do think that the plane action, because when I rewatched the first one, I don't really get a lot of what's going on in the plane action, but here it's very crisp and clean, and you understand. They go really out of their way, especially with the climax of the movie, to make it clear this is what's happening. This is what we are trying to do. Because to the uninitiated, you kind of watch this and they're just cutting from cockpit to cockpit, and you're like, what's happening? But my big problem here, it's just nerfed. Like the sex scene in this movie has nothing on the sex scene in the original. Like they cut away from the sex scene. We don't get the silhouette tongues or anything.
Yeah.
And what am I here for?
I do get that argument. Didn't necessarily notice it in my viewing, but I do get the argument.
Oh, I was immediately upset.
It seems weird that Tom Cruise definitely had full control probably over that situation, but maybe Tom just wasn't into it.
And I just wasn't into Jennifer Connelly at all because they act like we're supposed to know her and have a pre-existing relationship with her. And I think it's well
Yeah.
done. And I'm happy that he's dating someone that's closer to his age. That's refreshing for a movie like this.
That is true. If I had to have one complaint, it was definitely the relationship between Maverick and Jennifer Connelly's character, who I don't even really know what Penny, I think was her name.
It
I
takes up
think,
a good 20 to 30 minutes of the movie. And the first one's
yeah,
an hour and 40. This one's 2 hours and 10 minutes. You take her out of it because you really don't need it in there, besides to be like
especially
his
because like
girlfriend.
even when he, it's not really a spoiler, even when he goes away on a mission or whatever, it doesn't really seem like she's all that invested in whether he's coming back or not. Because when he comes back, she's just like gone on a fishing trip or whatever, on a sailing trip with her daughter and everything. It's like, damn, she really wasn't expecting me to come back at all.
Yeah, and
That's what it felt like.
speaking of coming back, this movie had no balls. Okay, the first movie has balls. The best part about that movie, I don't love the first movie because the plane action. Yeah, it's good. It's all well and good. I love it because of the tragedy and then the rise and the triumph. Like, I'm in
You
it for the
know,
story.
I might be a little basic bitch, but I thought this will be a spoiler. We'll just go into, okay, 5, 3, 2, 1 spoiler for Top Gun Maverick. I thought Tom died. I thought Maverick was dead for a minute, and I was like, oh shit, they really, I was like, Tom's really out of the fucking franchise now, and they might continue on without him. But then when he came back, I was like, okay, cool. Like, I was excited for a second, but then I understood what happened, you know?
Well, I like the
But
second
I bought
climax
into
of
it.
them trying to sneak into a thing and, obviously, whatever, they're buddies now. That's great. But that just goes to show it's so safe. They didn't want to do anything bold with the characters. They didn't have anything to say. Do you know who the villain in this movie is?
The Navy.
The enemy. They only refer to the opposing force as the enemy. There's no specific country that we're fighting
Yeah,
here. We're trying to be very PC. We want this to sell everywhere.
I'm not mad about that. Just because I don't want, the way the world is right now, I don't think we want to start any wars with anybody.
No, and that's fine. I'm less worried about. I'm not like, wow, why didn't they say it was Russia?
Just
I'm
because
just.
everyone's so sensitive these days, it's good to not probably target anybody.
It's just another anecdote of how they were just every decision was made to play it safe. Because you know what this movie makes me think of? There's two blockbusters this movie really reminds me of. Number one, The Last Jedi. Because people who hate The Last Jedi are like, oh, my old action hero from the 80s. I don't like that he's a little pussy boy now and he gave up. No, Tom Cruise, he doesn't give up. He's still flying. He rejects his promotions. This is where I belong, and I've always been a pilot, and I'm going to continue being a pilot. And you know what? My whole thing is to teach these guys on how to do this mission. Guess what? Fuck that. I am the mission. Like,
Well, he realizes no one's as good as me, and we all know it. We knew it from the beginning, and we tried to show everybody that, hey, maybe everyone else is good. Nope, it's just Tom.
yeah, and
And
it's like it's just like old man. It's just like a Liam Neeson movie where it's a fantasy.
Damn.
Like living through a fantasy of like, oh, I love my family and I wish I was an action hero. I'm gonna go see Blacklight or Memory. Did you see either of those?
No, I stopped watching Liam Neeson after like Taken 2. I didn't even really like Taken 1 that much.
I'd write
He's a
essays about
very,
both of those movies.
honestly, my favorite Liam Neeson movie is Hot Pursuit. I think that movie is so goofy and so much fun.
Wait, Hot Pursuit, the one with Reese Witherspoon and
No, my
I
bad.
literally had
This
the
is not
poster on my
my
wall.
bad. You know what it is? It's
Cold
not Hot
Pursuit.
Pursuit. It's Cold Pursuit.
Oh,
Goddamn, not Hot Pursuit. Do not cut that out immediately. I do
I'm not
not care
joking.
for
I
Hot
have the
Pursuit.
poster. I'm literally pointing at it. It's huge.
Isn't
Like it's
that with,
half my
isn't it
size.
Reese Witherspoon and Sofia Vergara or whatever from Modern Family? Isn't that Hot
Yes.
Pursuit? I never
Yes.
saw it. I just seen the poster like a bunch of times.
No, because when I saw Mad Max, they gave me a poster, and that was the same weekend, or the weekend before, and they had it, and I was just like, yeah, fuck it.
I guess.
But yeah, so it reminds me of The Last Jedi because they're really insisting that your favorite hero from your childhood is still a badass cool guy, and nothing changes. And then this also made me think of Indiana Jones 5. Did you see the recent picture that came out?
Yes.
Does that get you
Very,
excited? Are you happy about that?
I am excited about it, especially in the picture. Yeah, sure, it's exciting, but the fact that James Mangold is directing, that's the most exciting part for me, just because Walk the Line, Wolverine, Old Man Logan, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Big fan. So I'm really excited to see what he does with another old man character.
Well, that's fair. I just think that my dad is several decades younger than Harrison Ford is today, and I couldn't imagine him throwing a punch or running a mile.
Well,
You
yeah,
know what I
especially
mean?
because didn't I think he got hurt in this movie too? Didn't he like have to go out for a couple weeks because he like broke his leg or knee or some shit? I want to say.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. I don't want to watch action movies about old guys. Like,
Yeah, I can't imagine it's going to be heavy in the action just because what can he really do? I mean, if they try to do a bunch of CG stuff, I'll be really pissed. But that's just, or if they do a obvious like stunt double, that's going to be bad.
well, it was lame in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. What's changed now besides the fact that he's over a decade older?
That's true. Yeah, I blocked the movie out of my memory. I barely remember, other than the whole like opening with the fridge and stuff. That's about all I remember from that movie.
Well, and I heard a quote that was like, "Oh, we're hearkening back to the first two movies, the good ones, as if it was like the Terminator franchise." And I'm like, a lot of people think that Last Crusade is the best one, and it's definitely better than Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But my point is, it made me think of that because Tom Cruise hasn't aged a day, baby. Okay, he could still, well, he can't fuck, but he could still fly a plane. Like,
He can still jump from building to building and fly planes and do all that stuff, but
I didn't need the whole teacher angle. Like I'm still buying him as an action hero today. So whereas like Harrison Ford shows up in The Force Awakens is like, hey, I'm gonna teach you about the Millennium Falcon. Actually, JK, I know everything about it. I bypassed the compressor.
maybe it's showing you that Tom Cruise can do both. He can be a teacher and he's still the hot guy.
Mm-hmm. I just overall, I think it's a very vanilla. Top Gun Maverick is very vanilla. It's fine. It's good. It's very easily digestible. And I'll tell you what, this movie, I worked on it all weekend and it sold really well on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, you probably know what that audience is too.
Yeah, that post church crowd, like no, I don't know. I don't like action movies in general,
Yeah.
and it's just about the military and war, and it just seems so unnecessary because even their training sequences, that he's like flying up through them out of nowhere, and you're like, they could so easily die. Everyone could so easily die. What are we doing this for? What are the stakes? Why are we doing any of this? I don't know. It's just not for me. I'm literally a very good movie. Not for me. Not for
No,
me.
yeah. I completely understand your opinion on all of that, even though we don't match up on it. I agree with all of your points really. And if I didn't see it in IMAX and if it wasn't so fresh on my mind, will it be a complete 5 out of 5 like a year later? Maybe not. And that's the beauty of movie ratings for me. They always change, but it's just it must have hit all those nostalgia hits for me and just I'm a big fan of the technical aspect. Like you said, it's a perfectly made movie technically. So I had so much fun watching it from that angle, especially that I think even though some of the story points weren't as strong, maybe it was just a fun time.
So actually, you like the movie more than I do, clearly. But I think I'm about to say the nicest thing about this movie. I think it will be nominated for at least 3 Oscars, and I think it will win at least 1 Oscar. What do you think the 3 nominations are?
Best original song for Gaga.
There we go. Which, by the way, good song. I haven't listened to it since watching it, but good song. And
Yeah, I
doesn't
enjoyed
touch
it.
Danger Zone or take my breath away.
No, for sure. I was really excited that 21 Pilots weren't on it anymore because apparently that's who was on the soundtrack before Lady Gaga.
Oh,
And I couldn't even imagine what that song would have been like at the end because the female song at the end is just what Top Gun needed. Like if it would have been 21 Pilots, it would just not have worked for me. Like I probably would have taken it down at least a point because of that. But
it makes the Jennifer Connelly storyline necessary.
For sure. But yeah.
So original song, that's 1.
I would love it if cinematography did it, but
I think it could because it's gorgeous. Joseph Kosinski. You ever watch? Oh, I can't find it. Oblivion.
I actually haven't seen any of is the director. I forget who he is. Is that who it is?
Yeah, Joseph Kosinski did Tron Legacy and Oblivion.
I haven't seen either of them. This is my first movie from him.
But you know both those, like Oblivion's the
I'm
sci-fi
aware of
one with
both of
Tom
them. Yeah.
Cruise. Okay, yeah. Gorgeous movies with awful scripts. Well, not Oblivion. Oblivion's a good movie. I will defend Oblivion.
I'll
But
check it out.
no, cinematography, I think it's a very beautiful looking movie. That's not the one that I necessarily was thinking of, but I also
I would give
wouldn't
it for
be
editing too.
upset.
Editing especially, I would give it to, just because I loved how, especially how the montage, like the flying stuff was put together with the music, with everything together, I think was just masterful. But
yeah, the fact that I could tell what was going on.
and sound design too, I think was really good.
Best sound. That's, I think, well, it's a lock. Like you close your eyes and you are in a jet. And I mean, I saw it in Dolby, but whatever. But like,
yeah, I miss Dolby so much. Like I have a great IMAX theater up here with like some comfortable ass recliners and everything, but there's nothing like that Dolby sound above you and everything. Especially for The Matrix. That's one of my favorite theater experiences of all time.
Oh yeah, we did Matrix. Yeah. So that's three. That's three Oscars. You are missing one that this is the one I think is a lock to win.
I'm not sure.
Visual effects.
Yeah, I would definitely give visual effects, especially just because a lot of that stuff was done practically for the most part too. Like especially all their flying stuff. Like they actually had to learn how to fly in planes and stuff. And I forget, I watched a little video actually on Facebook earlier of Miles Teller like talking about like flying with Tom and how crazy he is.
Yeah, no, I've seen all the featurettes of them doing stuff like what happens if you fall into the water. Like they needed 3 months of training.
Well, and even when they were testing, he said that they would like shut off the engines and everything like that and have to learn how to free fall and everything. It's like you're an actor. Like I would shit my pants for that kind of shit.
Yeah, like people get mad at like Jared Leto for giving people used condoms and like Jim Carrey for like screaming at people on set as Andy Kaufman, but like I don't know. I guess it's worth it because the thing that people are falling in love with this movie is Tom Cruise, the last movie star, and everything's so practical, and I don't even believe there's CGI. I know there's CGI, but like it looks so good, and it's just so nice to have a legacy sequel that really just does justice to the original. It's fine. I like The Force Awakens more, but I like this more than Jurassic World.
You know, I think we're on the opposite spectrum on that. I think I like this one and I like Jurassic World more. I don't like Force Awakens as much.
I'm a Star Wars boy, which actually that's a good transition.
That's a good jump. Yeah.
Did you have any final thoughts on Top Gun Maverick?
Like I said, I understand where you're coming from. It's just it hit all those points for me. And I think I'd be interested to rewatch it just to see how I feel later. So 5 out of 5 for me right now, though.
I'm a 4 out of 5. Like I'm sitting here,
exactly.
Vanilla garbage.
That's where I knew you were coming from. Like there's no way people can really hate this movie. It's just like you came in there wanting to hate it. There's no way you'll hate it.
Just no, and I tried. I really tried to like this. I knew it wasn't up my alley. I just I don't know. This movie voted for Donald Trump. I believe that firmly. No, I don't know. I'm just playing. It's a good movie. Go watch it. I even told my parents to go watch it on Memorial Day. Even though
it's worth the theatrical experience at least, just because from the visuals alone, you have to see it on the biggest screen possible.
I don't even think it's the most American movie to come out on Memorial Day, because what's more American than a small family doing what is it?
Fighting for their business.
Yeah, small business owners just trying to make it in this economy. It's like the Minari.
Well, everyone's trying to screw them over. They're trying to fight for their business by any means necessary. Even the children. Children are capitalists.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah. So, Star Wars thoughts.
So the first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan came out last Friday, same as Maverick and same as Bob's Burgers. And yeah, I watched the first one on the day it came out, and then I actually only watched the second episode like a couple days ago. I think it's a lot of fun. Like I don't hate the prequels by any means. I think Phantom Menace is actually a fun movie still. Like I was kind of down on it for a long time, but
of all the words fun,
I think especially like the moments that are good, but yeah, a lot of the whole like
I had a ball during that Senate meeting.
The Senate meeting stuff for sure, I guess, but I still find it interesting anyway. But by But all of that aside, Attack of the Clones sucks. I will just say it right now, Attack of the Clones. I hate that movie. But
It's a
Revenge of the Sith is
noir.
cool. Revenge of the Sith is cool. Love that movie, and it was fun to put those nostalgia glasses back on for a while and get to see Obi-Wan again, and get to
Mhm.
see Ewan McGregor. Like, I love the guy. I love him in everything. So happy to see him like in Doctor Sleep, and just everything he does is pretty damn cool. So
Mhm.
I think he was awesome to come back, and it seems like he genuinely wanted to come back to this role, and it doesn't seem like he missed a beat. Like, immediately just stepped back in, and fun to see Joel Edgerton back.
Yes.
All the different, you get all the nostalgia you want, and I think the story honestly is going in a really cool direction. So my excitement is very high for it, and I'm really excited to see where it goes.
First things first, recapping the prequels at the beginning of the show. Oh,
I liked it. I liked it just because I haven't seen them in so long, and it honestly kind of like, it got me emotional a little bit just to see all that stuff happening again, and got me back into the exact mindset they wanted me to, I guess. So it worked for me, but I get why people don't like it as much, maybe just because it's like, here's everything you need to know right before you watch the show.
like if you don't know any of that stuff, then why are you watching? You know,
Yeah,
like it's free. It's on Disney Plus. Go watch the other ones. Like first things
but they
first.
give you the
Yes,
button. They give you the button to skip it. You don't have to watch it.
fair. It turned me off. I'll say that turned me off.
I get it.
But the first scene of real, actual new footage was stellar. It's my favorite thing in the first two episodes. It might be my favorite outside of the Grogu Mando finger touch at the end of the pilot of The Mandalorian. That might be my favorite scene in the Disney Star Wars TV show era because I just finished Boba Fett as well.
Yeah, and I think that was fine. It wasn't great. It was basically Mandalorian season 2.5, but
Mm-hmm. How did you feel
especially the last
about
half of it.
how'd you feel about that opening scene in Kenobi though? Because that's definitely one I want to highlight.
With the order happening and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. I
Mm-hmm.
liked how, especially like, a lot of people were kind of being judgy on the whole camera and how it looked kind of. I feel like they definitely made that camera move a little bit, how it started jostling around a little bit. I think they did it in post production,
Mm-hmm.
and people were really pissed about it. But I thought it looked pretty cool, especially adding to the action of what was happening on screen. But I thought it was pretty intense to start with that right away. But
Mm-hmm.
again, I think it got you right into that emotional spot where they wanted you, where it's just all that stuff just happened, and Obi-Wan, that's fresh on his brain still, all that trauma from Anakin, what he thinks died and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty cool how they, where they jumped off from. I think is a very interesting spot.
Mm-hmm. So it hit me really hard. That was a really awesome scene, but wasn't until a little bit later where I heard someone say something that it really got me because in its simplest form, is this not what the scene is? And you live in America. So it opens with children in a school being taught by a teacher, and then a gunman enters in and starts shooting the place up. Is that not what happened?
It is basically what happened. Yeah, you are
Like
right.
I know
Yeah.
they're not doing it on purpose. Obviously, they make this forever ago, but like that hit me because the whole shooting thing really impacted me the last like couple weeks, and
Oh
just
yeah.
to see that in the Star Wars context, it was
I
oh.
I did not connect that, but yeah, it's 100% very, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same place that they actually started. I don't know if you really watch a lot of the animated stuff, but it's actually the same spot they started in with the Bad Batch too. Like, not with that specific classroom stuff, but they started with the order being literally executed as the episode practically starts.
Mm-hmm.
So they see all the, like, basically all the crazy shit going on.
No,
So it's kind
I
of keeping on
started
the
Clone
same.
Wars, so I just recently caught like I'm on season 1, episode 17 or whatever, and I'm gonna finish it now. But then I'm gonna watch Rebels, and I'm gonna watch Bad Batch, and I'm gonna
If you just go
conform.
Clone Wars, the Bad Batch, that works
All right,
because it's the
fair.
same story basically. But yeah,
So overall, I thought it was fine. I really like Riva. I know she's getting cyber bullied right now, and I think that's really
yeah, and
unfortunate and pathetic that people are that lame. But she's really a cool villain. I understand. I think she's doing it because of Vader, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and she has all this info. Like I don't know where people are getting all their hate from, and it's got to be
Racism.
from a place of racism. Exactly, it's got to be from a place of
Yes.
racism and just hate for no fucking reason. And the Star Wars fan base is toxic and has been for since Disney's had it, and even a little bit before that. So it's pretty disappointing and disgusting to see it,
Mhm.
and I really hate it. But Reva is honestly so far a really cool character and really interesting, and it's going to be an interesting dynamic between her and Obi-Wan, I think. So, and her hunting him down and being with the Inquisitors, I think that's all a really, really cool idea. And yeah, I can't wait to see what happens. And anyone that hates Reva can suck my ass.
Yeah, I'm into it. I do agree that it's a little cringy. Like people are talking about the chase scene with little Leia, which little Leia's annoying, but she's a child, so I get it. It's fine.
And if we're thinking about it the same way that George Lucas literally created the prequels and said that he created them for children, a lot of this more childlike shit is gonna be present in Obi-Wan if you want it to stay true to the prequels, in my opinion.
Fair, but I hate that that's such a crutch that Star Wars uses because it's so dark. You really want me to believe that I'll believe Jar Jar is for children. I'm not going to believe
I
that the
mean,
Obi-Wan show is for children.
they want to just include everyone because as much as you can say, okay, sure, it's about the children, it's about the money. So they
Yeah.
want the children to tune in as well. So they want the parents to buy the stuff for the show. So yeah, they're gonna make the children stuff too. So we can look at it from both sides, really.
Mm-hmm. No, I'll definitely continue forward with the show. It's better than Boba Fett. I don't think it's as good as The Mandalorian, and I'm not even that big of a Mandalorian fan. But I'm definitely interested to see where it goes going forward. That cliffhanger at the end of episode 2 was pretty baller, even though I didn't know that Obi-Wan didn't know that Anakin was Darth Vader. Because you would think just because like news that you would know who the vice president of the galaxy is.
Well, yeah, I think he's been in his little hut for so long. He's kind of stayed to his own shit, so he doesn't really know. Like, he really just thinks that Anakin was dead for however many years it's been. I forget, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm really excited to see where the show goes from here, and I'm excited to talk about it again on a future episode.
Hell yeah. So final thoughts though. I mean, it's hard to rate something. But I guess I would go with like a 3. It's fine.
Yeah, 4 out of 5 for sure. And I just quick thoughts on Bob's Burgers. If you're a fan of Bob's Burgers like myself, I've seen like every episode. I think you tweeted you only saw the pilot or whatever, but
Yeah.
if you're a big fan of Bob's Burgers, go see Bob's Burgers. It's fantastic. It's pretty much the show extended into an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. I think it's like hour 45. It's just so much fun. Musical numbers, tons of humor, really heartfelt moments too, honestly. So that I rated it a 4.5 out of 5, and honestly, it could even be a 5 out of 5 too. Both movies, Top Gun and that, were both very fun to watch in theaters this weekend. So whichever one you think sounds better, go check it out because you'll have a fun time regardless.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I thought it was very good. 4 stars. I like that there's musical numbers. Usually we'll be able to cover more things. Like I loved Men. Did you like Men?
I enjoyed Men quite a bit. I didn't necessarily love it, but I really liked it.
Yeah. And then I'm sure we're both big Downton Abbey fans. But we are running out of time here today. And normally we would talk about some other movies. Actually, what's your favorite movie that you watched for the first time that isn't new this month?
So, actually, just a few hours ago, I just finished High School Musical 3.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't watch it in theaters because I was a closeted High School Musical fan a little bit. I watched it at home all the time. I even owned the DVD and I literally held it, like, hid it in the back of my shelf just because I don't know why I was so embarrassed by it. Toxic masculinity shit back then, especially. Maybe that's why, but I adore those movies now. Just watched the third one for the first time, basically, and I loved it.
So
I
wait,
thought
it
all
was
the
your first
songs were so
time?
much fun. I think I watched it like partially on TV like years ago. So this is the first time in full, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I was surprised at how good the songs were still, and it was the first musical. It was the first High School Musical that actually has a musical in it, which was pretty funny to me. But I had a blast watching it. I think I rated it a 4 out of 5, which High School Musical 2 is by far still my favorite, and it's some of the best music in any Disney musical, period. So yeah, fun watch. go check out my letterbox to see what else I've watched recently. I would write up a bunch of little short reviews on there. And yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. This may not be my favorite movie that I watched, but I actually just bought it because I watched it on Hulu. The Flintstones movie is everything I would want a Flintstones movie to be, and I don't know why it's not beloved. Also, another movie that I made a vendetta to go watch was The Girl Next Door. Have you seen this?
I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but I really enjoyed it back then. I don't know how is it kind of held up over the times? 'Cause it seems
Not
like some
well.
of the
They say
humor.
fag
Yeah.
a lot. It's really awkward. But I did
Yeah.
not know that's where this movie was going. As my favorite quote of all time when he's shouting at him to please have sex with the porn star.
I saw your Snapchat. It was really funny. I haven't seen that movie in a very long time.
It's very interesting. I was the whole entire time. I'm like, what? What's going on? Why?
Correct me if I'm
it's too
wrong.
long.
Timothy Oliphant's in it, right?
Oh, he's in it.
Isn't he like a porn director or something like that?
Oh yeah, he's definitely in it. But yeah, other than that though, thank you guys so much for tuning in to our first episode of Ass, the Adam Steve Show.
Yeah.
And, we are going to have links down below to all of our stuff. I do hard reviews.
Yep, and I'm on the Film Fan Reviews. I've done a bunch of videos for all the movies we talked about today, including Men, Bob's Burgers, all that shit. And I know Adam's done a bunch of them too, so go check out our channels and subscribe to them as well as this one.
Awesome, cool. Thank you guys very much. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And
we have it on podcast as well, Spotify and all that shit. It'll be everywhere, so go check them out everywhere and subscribe everywhere you can for us and give us all the good ratings.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Peace.
Love you.